The letter arrived 3 days before Christmas, tucked neatly between a grocery flyer and a credit card offer. Cream-colored paper, blue ink, the familiar logo of our homeowners association stamped in the corner like a raised eyebrow. Reminder: no parties, gatherings, or organized events after 9 p.m. Noise complaints will result in fines. I stood at the kitchen counter rereading it while my coffee went cold. I was 52 years old, a homeowner of 15 years, a man who paid his dues on time and trimmed his hedges on schedule. And yet, there it was, the unmistakable feeling of being grounded. Now, to be clear, I wasn't planning a rave. No DJ, no rented heaters, no eggnog-fueled conga line. What I had in mind was simpler, warmer, older than the HOA bylaws themselves. I wanted to sing. Every December since our kids were little, my wife and I had hosted a small holiday gathering. Neighbors would stop by, someone would bring cookies, someone else would forget them in the oven. We'd end the night singing carols, badly, enthusiastically, and together. It was never loud, it was never late. But last year, a new board took over the HOA, and with it came a zeal for order that bordered on athletic. No parties, they said. So I read the rules carefully. They didn't say anything about caroling. Our neighborhood sits just outside a mid-sized Midwestern city, the kind of place people move to when they want predictability. Lawns are measured, trash cans disappear within an hour of pickup, porch lights flick on in near-perfect unison at dusk. Most of us are in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. Empty nesters, late career professionals, people who wave politely but rarely linger. In other words, we could use a little singing. The idea came to me around midnight, which felt appropriate. If the HOA wanted quiet nights, I would give them the quietest rebellion imaginable. Acoustic, wholesome, technically mobile. I sent a few texts. No party, just caroling. Midnight, dress warm. I expected hesitation, maybe polite declines. Instead, my phone lit up. I'm in. Haven't sung since college, but why not? Does humming count? By Christmas Eve, the plan had grown to 12 people, accountants, a retired nurse, one guy who always complained about parking rules. My wife baked cookies anyway, because rules, she said, don't apply to baked goods. At 11:58 p.m., we gathered quietly at the end of the cul-de-sac. No decorations, no amplifiers, just scarves, mittens, and a stack of lyric sheets printed in respectable 12-point font. The night was cold, but clear. Porch lights glowed like small moons. Somewhere, a television murmured through a window. I cleared my throat. "All right," I said in what I hoped was a whisper. "Let's keep it gentle. We walk, we sing, we smile. No stopping too long in one place." Someone laughed, softly. We started with Silent Night. It felt almost ironic. Our voices weren't perfect, they wobbled, they drifted, but something happened halfway through the first verse. Curtains moved. A door opened just a crack. A porch light brightened. At the third house, an older woman stepped outside, wrapped in a blanket. "Oh," she said, pressing a hand to her chest. "I thought I was dreaming." We smiled and kept singing. By the time we reached the corner, we had picked up 3 more people. One man brought a harmonica from his garage. Another carried a thermos of coffee, passing it like contraband. We didn't linger. We didn't shout. We let the songs do what songs has always done. Fill the spaces people forget are empty. At precisely 12:27 a.m., we saw headlights. A slow-moving car, white, official-looking. The HOA board president. He rolled down his window. "What's going on here?" he asked. I stepped forward, heart thumping in my ears. 52 years old, I reminded myself. Mortgage paid, lawn compliant. "Caroling," I said. He blinked. "It's after midnight." "Yes, sir. And this is organized." I nodded. But not a party. Behind me, someone started humming again, soft, unthreatening. The harmonica joined in, barely audible. The president looked around, at the scarves, the lyric sheets, the older woman still standing on her porch, smiling through tears. He sighed. "Just keep it moving," he said, and drove on. I don't think I breathed again for a full minute. We finished at my driveway, exactly 1 hour after we began. No complaints, no fines, just applause. Quiet, mittened applause, and a sense that something important had happened. The next morning, my inbox was full. Thank you notes, stories. One message from a neighbor I barely knew. "My husband passed last year. I didn't think I'd hear Christmas music outside our house again. Thank you." Even the HOA sent out an email. Reminder, seasonal activities are encouraged when conducted respectfully. I printed it and put it on the fridge. Here's what I learned that night, and why I'm telling you this. As we stood there in the cold, stamping our feet and folding lyric sheets back into pockets, I realized how rare it is to feel truly connected anymore. Not online, not through a screen, but standing shoulder to shoulder with people who share your street, your winters, your small daily routines. For one quiet hour, we weren't residents or rule followers or line items on an HOA spreadsheet. We were just neighbors again. Rules matter. Communities need them. I understand that more now than I did before. Order keeps things running. It keeps the peace. But rules were never meant to replace kindness or silence traditions that remind us we belong to one another. Somewhere between the bylaws and the bedtime routines, there has to be room for grace. The next morning, when I stepped outside to grab the paper, the neighborhood felt different, warmer somehow. A few porch lights were still on, glowing softly in the early gray light. Someone across the street waved, really waved, not the polite lift of fingers we usually exchange. Another neighbor stopped me to say she hadn't slept much, but she didn't mind. She said it was the best Christmas Eve she'd had in years. Later that day, my phone buzzed again. Another message, then another. Stories I hadn't known, losses people carried quietly, gratitude they hadn't had a place to put before. One note, short and simple, stayed with me the most. Thank you for reminding us what this used to feel like. Even the HOA sent out a follow-up email, carefully worded, officially neutral, but softer than before. A reminder that seasonal activities are welcome when done respectfully. I smiled when I read it, not because we'd won anything, but because maybe, just maybe, they felt it too. That night didn't change the world, it didn't rewrite the rules, but it shifted something small and important. It reminded me that you don't have to be loud to be heard, and you don't have to break the rules to make a little noise. Sometimes all it takes is showing up, singing a familiar song, and letting people remember who they are when they're not rushing inside or looking down at a phone. And yes, we're doing it again next year. Same night, same cold air, same imperfect voices. Maybe a few more harmonies if we're lucky. The HOA already knows. This time, they didn't say a word. And somehow, that feels like permission.